Most of us have observed the water's surface at low tide, how calm and everything appears. There is little turbulence to the waves as they leap upon the shore. Or if you spent time watching the sun rise or set, you can always depend on its occurrence every day. Those two elements of nature are appropriate in characterizing our next inductee, Mystic Connecticut's Bob Garbarino. Calmness and consistency are trademarks of this man's near 50-year career. Add devotion, hard work, along with passion, and you pretty much complete Garbarino's picture. Think about it. Barb Garbarino has been fielding race cars for 50 years. That's far longer than half the lifetime of most of us in this room. It all began for Bob back in 1959 when he and his friend Butch Majette built a Bomber Division car out by the garage, something you did in those days, and headed off to the Waterford Speed Bowl. We used a tow bar to get the car to the track, Bob said. It wasn't a very pretty sight, but it was a start. What followed was a Sportsman Division car the next season, then a modified the year after that. Once those skills were honed, Bob Garbarino ventured to the tracks like Stafford and Thompson, and the list of drivers began to be compiled. Through the years, we've seen Dick Watson, Ted Stack, Gene Burgeon, Ed Flemke, Leo Cleary, Brian Ross, Jeff Bodine, Bugsy Stevens, Satch Worley, Tim Conley, Robbie Summers, Jerry Marquis, Chuck Hosfeld, and Donnie Leah slide themselves into Garbarino cars. That group alone would make one of New England's finest highlight reels. When NASCAR went with its present team format, Bob Garbarino was there. Stevens got Garbarino his first tour win, and Satch Worley captured what Bob still considers the biggest victory of his career, the 1991 Race of Champions at Pocono. Good points finished followed were always there, but never a championship. What transpired after the end of the 2006 season and before the beginning of the 2007 season would change all of that. Garbarino answered the phone one day at his Mystic River Marina business, and on the other end was a young, brash Long Islander named Donnie Leah. Here was a kid with raw talent. Leah had a knack for creating excitement, but it didn't always happen between the apron and the retaining wall. I knew that Bob was looking for a driver, Leah said recently. I thought we could put a deal together. Now, when you think about Garbarino and Leah, it certainly doesn't appear to be a match made in heaven, not even here on earth. One of Bob Garbarino's strongest traits is his ability to see talent, says veteran motorsports writer Pete Zanardi, a Hall of Fame member. In most cases, Bob is a terrific listener. In this instance, he did most of the talking, and Donnie listened. Bob's wife, Joan, has a much easier explanation as to why it worked. They're both Italian, she said. It's that simple. Somehow, Garbarino, Leo, and that Mystic Missile crew were able to harness all the pieces together. I knew one thing, Leah said. I couldn't let this man down. He was willing to take a chance on me. He means so much to racing, New England racing. Bob works as hard as anyone on the team. Some people thought that winning these 2 championships was all about big horsepower and lots of money. It wasn't. There was more to it. In what is part of the twilight years of Bob and Joan's racing career together, they had their first championship. A second one came along this past season. My greatest joy in all these years of working with Bob, says crew member Greg Schroeder, was to see Bob and Joan hoist that first championship trophy in the air. Bob is one of those special people, Schroeder added. He tends to think differently than others. There could be chaos and verbal hurricanes all around, but Bob would always be that voice of reason. Over the years, the relationship between NASCAR and Bob Garbarino has, more times than not, been a convivial one. When NASCAR looked for answers to difficult matters within the division, it was usually Bob who provided them. One incident, however, revealed another side of Bob's character. For whatever reason, several NASCAR officials thought it would be a better idea if those nicknames, like Mystic Missile, would be removed from the car's roof lines. Even the notion of the thought didn't set well with Bob. I made the suggestion to one official, Bob said, that maybe it was time to open the back gate so that I could bring my hauler inside, load up, and go home. My point seemed to be well taken. Mystic Missile, like the word Woodchopper Special and Old Blue, are names linked to the romantic era of this sport. I have a picture in my motor coach of the Mystic Missile and Old Blue coming to the finish line. I believe it was at Thompson, Bob says. Not only are the drivers visible, so are the actions of the cars. When people watch modified racing, there's a sense of rawness to it. There's so much beauty to these cars. When he's asked about this wonderful, lengthy career that's unfolded in front of him, Bob likes to tack it together this way. It begins with a competitive drive. You want to win. I've never been complacent, never wanted to a 6th, 7th, or 8th place finish. Then, when you're around for a while, it becomes an addiction, and eventually that translates into a passion. Once that's gone, the passion, you might as well think about retirement. That final phase isn't anywhere to be found in this man's future. Their love of warm weather and boats have taken the Garbarinos south each winter. It's a chance to spend time with so many racing friends in Florida. Most of March is spent with Bob's brother Skip in Naples. That's where the boat park comes in. We have a boat down at the Mystic Marina, Bob says. I guess we will use it someday. Right now, our summers are filled up, and apparently they will be for some time. It is my distinct pleasure to present to you Mr. Bob Garbarino for induction into the 2010 class of the New England Auto Racers Hall of Fame. Bob?
Well, you guys stole most of my thunder. They used all my favorite words, but when Peter said that this day may happen, I really was thinking, when it comes to the near, the Hall of Fame, and the people in near, there must be a link that ties them all together. There must be a thread that everybody's hooked onto. And as I thought about it, the thread that kept coming up was commitment. We've heard commitment used a few times tonight, but I think that there's so many people in this organization and are members of the hall, but I think they're there because of the commitment that they made, whether it be a reporter, the media people, track people, competitors, fans. They're absolutely committed, and I think that's what makes racing so much different than other sports. We have people that this is what they want to do, and they do it. When I started racing, as Peter mentioned, it was kind of the challenge of the competition. It was the competitiveness that got me into it. And then I was into it for a while, and you wake up one morning and you say, boy, I gotta be careful, I'm getting addicted to this thing. And that's true, and I think you all sense that at some point in time. But then there's something that goes beyond that, and that's what some have referred to a passionate commitment. And that's what keeps us in it. That's what makes it so special. Jackie took it from me, of course. I was going to tell you about Junior Johnson's, how you describe commitment, but Jackie did that for me, thank him. But I think that's why everybody is here. They've been committed. It was nice to see Frank tonight. I have to say to Frank, I've got the toolbox that says Ferraro 100 with 100 silver dollars in it. I still have it. And so it just becomes a lifelong commitment. I have certainly many people to thank. I have to start with my wife, Joan. She's always supported me and my family, because if those groups aren't with you, it's pretty difficult. But then there's the competitors, and a number of them belong to this hall that have either driven for me or been part of the team. And they're there because they were committed to do it. And I'm humbly honored to be inducted into this thing. It's, I don't have as long a speech as some of the other guys, but I can tell you from here, it's there. I think this is a great organization that recognizes people, not myself necessarily, but other people that have done things, and I'm proud to be a part of it, and I'm absolutely thankful. Thank you.